Folks, welcome back to the channel. Tonight we're going to look at 3 potential replacements for Tom Rogic, and we'll discuss the departure of Vasilis Barcass. Yes folks, welcome back. Tonight's video is all about numbers, and we need to start with the most important one. We need 35 subscribers to pass 35,000 subscribers. So there will be 35 of you watching this video right now that haven't subscribed. And if you just click the red subscribe button below, we'll be past the next milestone. And it'd be a nice way to mark this video by passing that mark tonight. So if you haven't already, click subscribe below. The other number is 3. We're going to look at 3 replacements or potential replacements for Tom Rogic with the ever-changing world of transfer rumours. It's hard to keep up with all the players we've been linked with, and it's only June. But we are going to look at 3 that have been mentioned, 1 that hasn't been mentioned, but 2 that have been in the press in recent days. But first of all, Vasilis Barcass did leave the club today on a season-long loan to Utrecht in Holland. I discussed this in my 5 players likely to leave Celtic a couple of weeks ago. So I've got at least one already, because Barcass has left. And as I mentioned, with 2 years left to run in his contract, the club had a decision to make. If they could get any interest in him, it was always likely he was going to go out on loan. Listen, we'd probably like him to leave permanently and try and recoup some of that money. But while he's got that contract there, I think a loan deal is probably best, the best both parties could expect. And as I say, that sort of frees up a place in the squad. Joe Hart and Scott Bain there now. Whether we'll go and look to add another goalkeeper, that'll be interesting in the next month or two as the transfer window opens and the deals start coming in. Will goalkeeper be something we look at? I don't think it's necessarily as high up on the manager's list as positions like midfield and like left back, but it'll be interesting to see how that one develops. Right, so let's get into it then. Tom Rogic has left Celtic. He leaves a huge void in the squad and in the team. He gave us so many great moments. And I think that position in midfield is a key one for us because we've had a lot of options there, particularly natural 10s like Rogic, like Turnbull. We've got a few 6s as well. Beaton has now left the club, but we've still got McGregor, who's the number 1 choice in that position. But we've got Ideguchi, we've got McCarthy, still got Sorrow at the club. So I think the midfield area, who plays in front of Callum McGregor, is a big area that we need to improve because we're going to get into the Champions League, and I don't think we can afford to play with 2 attack-minded players. I think we need some more power in there, maybe some more physicality, a powerful runner, a sort of box-to-box midfielder, if you like, the way we'd have seen in maybe years gone by, but one that fits into the style that Ange wants to play. So let's look at the first potential replacement for Rogic then. It is Christopher Scott. We've been linked with him for a few months. The season was still going on. I think it was maybe late March, early April that we were first linked with Christopher Scott from Bayern Munich. He's 20 years old. He actually turns 20 today. It's his birthday. He's out of contract at Bayern Munich. We would have to pay a £250,000 compensation to bring him to the club. He looks like a really powerful runner, something that I just mentioned there. Adept at taking the ball in a half turn. Scored goals for the B team. He did make 1 or 2. I think he made 2 appearances for the Bayern Munich first team last season. Came through the Bayer Leverkusen youth academy. Been there since he was 7 before he transferred to Bayern Munich at the age of 18. That youth academy has produced some wonderful players over the years, and you can see just from the obligatory YouTube videos and watching some of his clips that he looks a really strong player, technically good as well. But as I say, he looks like he's got a bit of physicality about him, and I think that's something that we could do with adding in midfield. But as I say, and this is going to be a thread throughout this video, the world of the transfer rumours moves rapidly. So last night I done all the research for this video, and then today there's been 2 stories to kill 2 of the links that I'm going to talk about tonight. There was a report today on Twitter from a journalist that works for Sky in Germany that Christopher Scott doesn't want to move abroad. He wants to stay in Germany if he can Fortuna Dusseldorf are interested. The journalist did say he hadn't heard very much about the links with Celtic, so that might pour cold water on that one. There was even talk that Christopher Scott was going to come to a game when the season was still going. I don't know if that ever did materialise. And then a report, I think it was from Ghana last week, suggested that he was closing in on a move to Celtic. So that's what you're dealing with at this time of the year. Random reports and rumours that totally contradict each other. We don't really know where it stands as supporters. I think Christopher Scott would be a great addition to the squad. He's a great age, and as I say, it looks like he's got a brilliant range of qualities and sort of gaps that we have in midfield. So I'd like to see him come in, but after today's reports, it maybe isn't looking very likely at all. Certainly not as likely as it looked following that report last week. So we'll wait and see how that one develops. But I think Scott does offer some qualities that we really need in there. And the next link that's been killed before I've even had the chance to talk about it is Paulo Bernardo from Benfica. Obviously, the media is full of reports about Jota and when or if he's going to sign this permanent deal. Need to say, by the way, that story on Twitter where he had a kick about with the boys in New York, brilliant, wearing the hoops as well, wearing his work clothes on holiday. If that doesn't tell you that he's wanting to join Celtic, I don't know what does. No, but seriously, obviously, rife with speculation about when it's going to be, if it's going to happen. And then yesterday, this story developed that we are looking at a similar deal for Paulo Bernardo from Benfica. Again, 20 years old, the same age as Scott, for Bayern Munich. I hadn't seen too much of him. Again, I've watched a few videos over the course of the last couple of days. And again, in the youth team, really advanced, getting into the box, scoring goals. Similar stature to Rogic, tall, rangy, a good dribbler, good on the ball, and has got a goal in him. I think in the videos that I watched and his appearances, I think he had 17 appearances for Benfica's first team last season. He was playing a wee bit deeper, maybe more of a six role, if you like, playing a wee bit safer. That's probably what he has to do to break into the team. It's probably more difficult as a young player to break into those attacking areas of the pitch, but he looks a good player, really good technically, and as I say, similar build to Rogic, rated at £7 million. They were talking about a loan to buy at £7 million, but there's even mention a £85 million release clause in his contract. His contract with Benfica does run to 2027. Looks a really talented boy though, and maybe the fact that Jota's come and had that success, if he's lacking game time at Benfica, a loan move to a club like Celtic might be a good option for him. Now, I'm not saying it's going to materialise into something permanent. If Benfica have got plans to properly integrate him into the first team, that wasn't really the case with Jota in the immediate season before he joined Celtic, because he was on loan at Valladolid, whereas Bernardo did make 17 appearances for Benfica last season, so maybe they have got bigger plans for him, and they want him to play in the first team in the longer term. That contract would suggest that, but again, reports today contradicting the reports yesterday. I think one of the reports yesterday said that Celtic had even had an initial bid rejected, and then today apparently there's been no negotiations at all. It is absolute silly season. Who knows who to believe? Probably nobody. Again, until you see them at Celtic Park, nothing is ever confirmed in the world of the transfers. But again, Bernardo, different to Scott. I think that Scott looks a lot more powerful in terms of his running style. Bernardo, graceful, as I say, very similar build to Rogic, but if these reports today are to be believed, it doesn't look like he will be joining. But as I say, that if it would be to happen at all, it would be a loan deal, and I think it'd be nice to get someone in permanently to replace Tom Rogic, who had been here for such a long period of time. But the boy looks a great player. I just don't think we'll see him join Celtic this summer. And the final name on this list is just a bit of fun. There's no way I think this boy's going to sign for Celtic, but I had to include him because of his similarities to Tom Rogic. It is Aydin Hrustic from Eintracht Frankfurt. He did score a penalty in the Europa League final, by the way. He came on the second half extra time. Again, he's a very similar build to Rogic. Tall, left-footed, the only left-footed player out of these three. And Ange Postecoglou handing him his first cap for Australia in 2017 against Brazil. So he does. Ange Postecoglou does know the player, but as I say, I don't expect Celtic to sign him. I just had to put him in because of what I've watched from him. He looks very similar to Tom Rogic, and obviously Australian as well. But he did only make 9 Bundesliga starts for Eintracht last season. He's 25 years old, so coming towards his peak, unlike the other two who are really early in their career. Hrustic is coming towards his peak. Got 2 goals in those 9 starts last season in the Bundesliga. Made a lot of appearances off the bench, as I say, as he did in the Europa League final. It'd almost be like a Nuno Capucho, wouldn't it, if Celtic end up signing somebody for Eintracht Frankfurt. As I say, I don't expect... There's nothing in this, by the way. I've just plucked this out there. But the boy looks a good player. And if he wants more first-team football, who knows? Maybe there's a 1 in a million chance he could end up at Celtic. But I had to put him in there because I watched him a couple of videos from the Bundesliga this season, and then 1 or 2 for Australia. And he's very, very similar to Tom Rogic and has played with him, obviously, with the national team. But aye, that's just an absolute long shot. There's not even any tabloid rumours about Hrustic. So it's lazy journalism in it. That's what I've done here. I've plucked a player that Ange gave an Australia debut to, has played with Tom Rogic at national level. Similar type of player, and I've just made up a link. I've not made up a link. I'm not saying Celtic are trying to sign him. The video is potential replacements, and he is a potential replacement. Will he be the replacement? I would severely doubt it. But I had to bring him up anyway. Bring a bit of fun to the list. I didn't want them all to be ones that you've heard about in the press. So Hrustic was the wild card that I added off my own back. So there you go. That's 3 players that could potentially replace Tom Rogic. If reports are to be believed, though, it's unlikely that any of the 3 of them will replace him. It is clear, though, that Ange Postecoglou wants to bolster the Celtic midfield. And the natural successor to Tom Rogic is probably Matt O'Reilly. He's been at the club already for 4 or 5 months and really, really impressed everybody. I think Ange included. A great age as well, so much development in him. But as I say, do we look for different qualities? I think there is maybe a gap in the qualities that we've got in midfield. And I think going into the Champions League, we could do with a bit more physicality and even the ability to get about the pitch. I think Turnbull and even O'Reilly to an extent do tire, and I think they are naturally attacking-minded players. So I think a more natural 8 in there, someone that will run all day and press all day, as we know midfielders have to do in an Ange Postecoglou team. To do it at the top level in the Champions League is going to be so difficult. And I just think we need extra strength in that midfield area. So there you go. That's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope that one of these players ends up somehow at Celtic in the next month or 2, but we'll see how everything develops. As I say, impossible to keep up with the rumour mill at this time of year. As you've seen with Christopher Scott and Paulo Bernardo, one day they're linked and the next day it's totally dismissed. And as with Scott, he was linked and then it disappeared and then he was linked again and now it's been dismissed. Who knows what's going to happen in the next couple of months? But if anything concrete does happen, we'll be here to discuss it. Like this video, comment with your own thoughts below, and don't forget to subscribe. As I say, we only need 35 to pass 35,000. So if you haven't already, please click subscribe below, and I'll see you soon for the next video. Cheers.